Okay, so we're doing movement. Movement through L-sit today into kind of a bridge position. Hip extensor, kind of like a camel bridge. So warming up through the wrists, make sure they're done. Warming up through the shoulders. We're going to be using a lot of protraction. We're also going to be using a lot of extension back behind. So getting that range of movement can be very useful. Trying to not let the neck and the head be doing the action, but actually letting the arms do this with me. Sitting in kneeling position. The idea of being in this position is that it creates stability through the pelvis and through the spine, trying to maintain that neutrality, even through the neck, as I find movement through the arms around the scapula. So my breath gets a bit labored there, which means it's a bit weak, tight. So I'm going to just squeeze the arms together, creates a pull across the front of the chest, and breathe into that. I created a lot of spaciousness, so I just let the arms swing wide. And allow this to just open up a little bit more. It is this action that created that, so incorporating that too. So the intention for today's practice is else. The intention is mobility, excuse me. The intention is movement, locomotion specifically, moving from one position to the next. Like this is locomotion. One position to the next, maintaining the rest of the body neutral. The locomotion I'm going to focus on today is an L-sit into a supported, kind of like camel position. So it's L-sit here into supported bridge camel. The reason I say camel is because it's essentially this position. So now that we've warmed up through the shoulders, making sure the neck's in there too. You may want to interlace behind and grab, maybe roll the shoulders back and down, reach the arms away, trying not to open up through the chest but maintaining neutrality. Then moving through the head, neck, or breathing into any tight spots. So, and then just a lot of tension through the scapula. So just get some shoulder rolls in here too. We don't need rotation for this, we need stability. So, for stability, what I'm going to do is bring one foot flat to the floor. Find stability in this position. So hips drive forwards, so I'm getting glute activation, pressing down through the foot. Find stability through the core. Stand tall, sit tall, kneel tall. Find the right motion. Can activate through the wrists as well. Flexors, extensors. Or if you just hold a false grip position, it's not really helpful for what we're doing. This is where we're going to be today, or knuckles. So whatever hand position you know works best for you, stick in that. Trying to find stability through the core. So find this. I'm just going to do one arm for now, so that feels more stable. So I'm scooping in and finding stability through the pelvis. Trying to minimize rotation essentially. Because if I sweep back, my body will want to rotate because of the tension. It just takes me that way. Same with forwards, right? It wants to do this, which I can do. And there's nice fluidity in that. There's nice locomotion, but it's not what I'm looking for today, because this isn't the action I'm going to be doing. What I'm going to be doing is finding stability through the pelvis, finding stability by pressing down through the foot and pressing forward with the hip. It creates a stretch across the quad, that's fine. Trying to maintain stability through the pelvis so I don't get this swing through the core, so I don't get this swing. 3, 2, 1, switch. So I noticed there's going to be perhaps a sensitivity through the knee because of the tightness I have the quad. So I'm just going to be aware of that. Maybe I put something underneath, but really I want that activation to help me lift and create a bit of length through there. So I'm going to find this action again. So I noticed the difference. I noticed the difference between the two sides. It doesn't like this side so much. So what I'm going to do, I still want to maintain stability through the pelvis, through the core. So I'm going to just drop it back and do it from this position rather than here, because it's a lot for the knee. I can put something underneath that. Right now, I want to find a neutrality and evenness, still having a hip flexion, but a maintain of the spine, so that yes, I can get this rotation, and it's nice and fluid. Yes, but now I'm going to minimize that, find stability by again that pushing down and squeezing forwards, and that's enough. Like I feel the stretch. Now I've lifted the hip slightly off the heel because that's the position we will be going in. I'm pushing down through the ball with the right foot. I find that stability as I find this locomotion. 3, 2, 1. Okay, just rest. So, found movement, this action, but also want to be finding this squeeze, because it's the pecs that are going to create that squeezing together to help with that lift. It's not just to depress, it's an active squeeze, because the L-sit is a transition for handstand, and to be able to do that, you're kind of coming from L-sit into tuck planche, up into handstand. One, the ability to squeeze and activate through the chest. Not to hunch up through here, but to maintain, because it's here, L-sit, into, well, it's L-sit, into straddle planche, into handstand. It's a hard movement through the scapula, through the shoulder, without getting the neck involved. So find that depression, find that squeeze, into here, to then find the protraction and the depression, still the squeeze, squeeze. And it would go up into a handstand, but I'm not going to maintain the squeeze for that. I'm going to relax to let the arms go up, then come back down, and all the way back. I'm going to hold there, and again find the squeeze, and I'm squeezing the wrists towards one another. I'm not trying to drop, I'm trying to maintain that sit tall position. Create space where there's tension for breathing. Oh, so much space created in that movement. So I'm trying to relax everything else and just engage to lift the arms back. Because where it would go is here. So let's take it there. It's going to come into kind of a camel position. So the hands can rest either below the rib cage or onto the pelvis if there's the mobility. If the L part, fingers need to point down and fine, but it's not a drop forwards of the elbows, It's that roll back and down of the scapula, shoulder, squeeze of the elbows together. I'm not trying to calm into extension yet. I'm just trying to maintain neutrality and find a strong position. Because eventually where this does go is to relax back. So press the hands into the top of the elbows. And that's the support. Like we've got a basketball behind my back, I'm just trying to relax open. In doing so, creating some spaciousness through the front of the chest and breathing into that. Breathing into the ribcage. Breathing into this space here, just below the pecs. Doesn't often get a lot of breath in there. That felt good. Natural progression for this is to come up into kneeling and find this camel pose. What I find with camel is it gets across a lot of the abdomen and into hips and hip flexor, which is great, but it's missed this, which I just got. It's that breathing into here. So I can try and maintain that position again. Relax into neutral, find squeeze of shoulders, so this is what's on stretch. And so I can breathe into this space, breathe into what was contracting, which is there, and also in here. That same stretch across the chest is what I find in that action. So it's not round, the shoulders aren't rounded forward, I'm broadening across the chest like the opposite direction of the arm reaching out. You can try that first, create that stretch, because the action we're doing is in the L-sit is a squeeze of the palms together. Squeeze the palms together in relation to the body. The body's going to be here in an L-sit. Squeeze the palms together, then it needs to release. So if I squeeze my arms together, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, relax. This is the direction they want to go, let them. And maintain the openness through the shoulder, and open up through the wrist. Create that same sensation here, broadening across the chest. Now getting a little bit of that front body opening, relaxing over the basketball. Okay, so I'm coming out of that. Woo! It's possible to push it too far. So what I experienced in that was, as I tried to find that same sensation across the chest, because this was switched on and in a stretched position, it was creating a pull through the abdomen, into the hip flexor, down through the adductor and into the knee. Became a little uncomfortable. It also took the focus away on what I wanted. So it tells me that there's tension in this space because I didn't feel it on the right side. And that tension is going to be related to this space. And as I come into this space here, I need to create, I can feel it. I can feel the difference between left and right. As I sit tall, I'm trying to bring the hands back behind me. Squeezing the palms, squeezing the arms together. Trying to get the wrist to touch, but gently. Breathing into the tension. Creates a release. So actively trying to bring the heels of the palms to touch behind you, pushing down to the ground. Because this is where this is going. It's going to be that first position of the locomotion. hands behind, and the hips forwards now. So squeeze, 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 squeeze. And try and bring them down. Now they won't reach because of the elevation I've got set on the heels. So what I want is to sit on my butt. The way I do that is I shift into one side and I come through hip flexion, bring it down. Do that a couple times. So if this is too much, come out of it. Do it that way. Let's do a couple each side. So, I am tilting, but what I really want is that balance. I squeeze the arms together. Because where I'm trying to get to is bum on the floor, feet on the floor, hands on the floor. The way I can do that is come through squat and sit down. On there. So we're trying to find that bridge camel position. So like where I was with the knees on the floor, hips over knees, shoulders over hips, find that neutral position, squeeze the palms together, and down. Done any hamstring lengthening, so that's going to be next, because that will take us finally into L-sit, because where this goes is into L-sit. But to get to that, I want to activate through the quads to stretch, lengthen through the hamstrings. Now I want to do this without the hip flexor switching on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my legs underneath, and my arms underneath my legs, and support myself this way. So I am getting a little rounding through the lower back, so I'm going to try and sit tall. Okay? If I need to have one foot on the floor, I'll do this one leg at a time, and let's go tall. I'm trying to sit tall again. That neutral sitting position. Neutral position of the body. And essentially I'm just trying to find some length through my hamstrings. If it's too much to grab the opposite, and just grab the hands underneath the thighs and just start to walk out the legs. But the idea is I'm trying to take the weight off of the hip flexors, so the knees aren't actively pulling in, the knees are relaxed. It's this pull that then allows me to lengthen into the hamstrings. You can do some holds if you like, one at a time, flexion and extension through the ankle, as it crosses the knee, it's connected to the hamstring lengthening. You can do both. Again, hip flexors are trying to switch off. I'm using the arms, that false grip, you can see biceps switched on. The biceps are holding this up. And then hamstrings switch on. Biceps, hip flexors switch on, hamstrings switch on. Sit up tall, breathe. Hammies, hammies, hammies. Okay, ready. So have a little stretch back out. A little move. sure everything's good to go, good and ready. So, hands down. Orientation that supports your structure, your harmonic. Roll the shoulders back. Little bend through the elbows, then allow us to straighten and push. Squeeze the palms together. Push down through the feet. Activate through the glutes to drive the hips up. Then try and slide the heels back to activate through hamstrings. Find that neutral position, squeezing the chest together, behind the body. Stand tall, stand, sit, squat like you're doing. So now we're going to go for L-sit. So we're going to use the push through the hands, let the hips relax down, activate through the quads, push through the hands, squeeze the chest, and allow that to pull me through. Relax down. Okay? I'm gonna do that one more time. So it's the squeeze of the arms together and that push that takes me up and over rather than using the hip flexors to pull back. Because this goes into an L-sit, yes, hip flexors are gonna fire to bring the hips into flexion. However, it's the hammies that straighten the legs, that create that force, that maintain that position, because the L-sit into a tuck planche or planche, you're not using hip flexors for that. You're using the back of the legs to lift and the glutes to maintain that long body position. Hip flexors are a lengthened position. They're not pulling in, they're reaching out, okay? So let's try again. Hands down, shoulders down, push down, squeeze together, push down through the heels, drive the heels down, squeeze the butt up, find nice tall spine, long, out of the hips, out of the body, stand like a king. Now keep squeezing the palms towards one another as the body comes down. Now it's the quads, press down through the hands, maybe lift and release. Okay, so where this is going to go next is, yes, the legs can lift. We can find an L-sit, just one up, maybe the knees bend, maybe you're using hip flexion, maybe it's the straightening of the leg and the activation of the hamstring to come into that position. But where it goes next is to then cross through and maintain that push and come to that tuck planche, that crawling position. So let's give it a go. Hands down, shoulders back and down, sit tall, push through the hands, squeeze the chest together, lift the hips, glutes on. Okay, we're gonna pull through, push through the arms, squeeze, lift to L-sit, cross the ankles, keep pushing, keep pushing, keep pushing, keep pushing. Because in this position, hammies are on, pushing, squeezing the chest. And come back. Whoo-wee. I think that's enough. Give it a little shake out. Where we want to stretch after that is through the hip flexor, so giving it the opportunity to be long. Maybe somewhere like here, letting the hip flexor just relax. You want to grab ankles and just soften into this position to do. Maybe it's a head to one side, but it doesn't need to be a pull because we're just asking the body to relax. So I've just hooked my heels into my sitting bones. I'm trying to relax as much as possible. Where I want to take this, I'll show you, is over here to the rings. Okay. So, because I want to let the hip flexors relax, right? So I step into the ring. to my hip crease. I sit down and take the arms through. And I let the support of the rings take the weight, and then the natural position of my body to soften. So I am in hip flexion, but I'm going to let myself fall on the spine and relax into this. Can relax pretty easy. So where I go next is neutrality with the hips. So rather than hips and flexion, it's neutral. And then relax down. Use the toes, support, use the natural geometry of my body, the harmonic of the bones. So if I wanted to activate through the back body to create more of a release through the flexors, where I come to is hands down to the ground. So, a little bit distracted. So, where I want to be is to be able to relax my hands down to the ground. And to do that, I'm going to move slowly. So the weight is coming